What? Excuse me. False start. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the final NBA Best Ball Strategy stream here at the FTN Network. My name is Zac Graham, aka Kawaisenberg DFS. Excited to do a couple drafts with you all today. Going to be focusing on Underdog, where I believe I'm just 18 drafts away from maxing this double dribble contest. So excited to fill out my full 150 again this year, and hopefully, get some nice values today. We'll see if UNC jumps in here in a little bit. I know UNC getting down to his final few drafts, so hopefully graces us with his presence, and hopefully on the other end of the draft order here today. We had an update to the Underdog rankings this morning, so I will drop those into the chat right now, and we'll go a few minutes here, or we'll let everybody kind of file in, see if we get anybody else joining in, jumping in these drafts with us here on a lovely Friday afternoon in Central Texas. I guess I can start out here as we wait to see if anybody's going to jump in here with us. Can kind of go over some of the changes, some of the preseason takeaways that I've had from the last week. And there's UNC. I knew he would show up. How many you got left, Chris? Because I know you were down to single digits. I don't know if you were in here a minute ago. I've got 18 left. You can see on my Underdog balance there. I have calculated it perfectly, where once that hits 0, I will be maxed out. So we'll have to do a little deposit after that, I guess. So 2 left for UNC there. And look, man, I feel like every time we've drafted together this preseason, I have liked your team. So like I said, I hope we are on opposite sides of the draft order here today. But before we jump in, just talking about a couple preseason takeaways. I mean, we can get the Wemby talk out of the way right now. I think taking him almost anywhere in the second round at this point is perfectly acceptable. Hey, there's Big E. That's my buddy, my good buddy. In a few minutes, Ian. Just want to let a couple folks maybe filter in to join the draft here with us. We've talked a lot about Wemby over the last few months at FTN in terms of best ball and where we would like to draft him. And for the longest time, we weren't really getting any Wemby shares just because of the uncertainty. I think there's still, even though the preseason has looked so promising from a fantasy perspective for Victor, they're still going to, in all likelihood, rest him on all the back-to-backs, etc. So I'm not going crazy. He's up to 22 in my rankings, but I am not opposed to reaching a few spots higher than that if you don't have one of those other elite bigs, because I'm not surprised, a couple months into this, if we're considering Wembanyama statistically, with those other elite bigs, not the Jokic and Embiid tier up at the top, but I don't think I'm surprised anymore if we're looking at him, maybe this time come next year with the Anthony Davises, the Domantas Sabonis, and the like, in terms of those elite bigs that we like to grab at the top of drafts. And a couple other guys, too, that continue just to rise up my board. Ausar Thompson looks set for a massive role with the Pistons. We saw another impressive statistical outing last night, 18 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 3 stocks in just 22 minutes, and did that on 8 shots. While pretty much everybody but Chet Holmgren was playing, Chet only got 14 minutes, I believe, took a seat at the half. So Ausar is rising up. He's now in the top 80 of the rankings. Ben Simmons has now cracked the top 100. He continues. Again, I don't think, mentally we're ever going to get fully back to what Ben Simmons was and could have been, that all-NBA caliber defender, and obviously a lot more confident with his offensive game, even if he wasn't shooting a ton of threes. Jeremy Sohan is confirmed the starting point guard here now for San Antonio, so he's rising up the ranks. I've been grabbing a ton of him lately. Kobe White appears to have the leg up on the starting point guard job for Chicago. Bilal Coulibaly continues to start, although Denny Avdia is back. Kyle Kuzma sat yesterday, so it remains to be seen. But I do think I have full confidence that Coulibaly is going to play a significant role here for this Wizards team, so I like him. Fine to reach around or so on him. Same, we talked about Jalen Johnson last week. And we'll talk about more of these guys as we go here through the draft. Let's go ahead. So it's 12:09 here Central Time. We've got about 45 seconds till it flips over to 12:10. So if you're on the East Coast, 1:10, West Coast 10:10 a.m. Let's jump in at 12:10 Central here into the double dribble. Of course, getting into one of the 30 seconds per pick drafts here, the fast drafts, if you will. And this contest now up to 72% full. And I believe a week ago we had just passed 50%. So I'm not, like I said last week, I'm not surprised if this fills. It does, if it continues at this pace, we're going to come up a little bit short, which we would not complain about at all. So 12:10, we'll jump in, and hopefully we all get into the same room. So that's about 5 seconds from now. We'll go ahead and get in here. There it is. Waiting for one, so hopefully UNC got in there. Hopefully Ian got in there. I imagine you guys did, since I don't see this filling yet. So just waiting for one, and here we go. So first draft of the day. I want to do at least two here today, as it's our preseason finale here. So where are we at? Oh boy, all I see is my name at 9. So I think that means that we've got myself, UNC, and Ian all bunched up here. So yeah. We did that draft last night. We just flip-flopped. Now I'm the 9, you're the 10, and UNC on the turn at 12. So this is going to be Snipe City again, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so 9, 10, and 12 for us three. Yeah, and man, Chris, I feel like I haven't gotten hardly any fifth pick. 5, 6, and 7, I don't feel like I've gotten a ton of. I've had plenty between 8 and 12 and plenty from 1 to 4, but that's been I don't have a ton of Jason Tatum or SGA because of that. Obviously not every draft is chalk, but for the most part, I don't have a ton of ownership on those guys. So I would like to, as I go through my last 18 drafts, including this one, hopefully get some shares of those guys just to differentiate a little bit. So we've got Bolanola on the clock here at 1. They might be auto drafting here since they haven't taken Jokic yet, so we'll see. And we have a lot of users in here without those badges. So, man, UNC, how do you not have a badge yet? Oh, it's Giannis at the 101. So JW Olin 5. Gets Jokic at 2, so already a fun draft room here, not starting out super chalky. I've got a ton of Embiid because anytime I get 3 or 4, or I should say every time I get 3, I'm Embiid over Luka, trying to get that elite big up top. So go Jokic, Luka, Embiid, Tatum. So that's chalk in terms of the ADP. We should see SGA go off the board here. And this is where it gets fun. You've seen the field cooling a little bit on Anthony Edwards. And again, I have no issue taking Anthony Edwards at 7. I would just prefer one of those two bigs. I would prefer Kevin Durant. And I would prefer Tyrese Halliburton at the same position. And it's not a knock on Ant. I'm all NBA caliber guy. I would just rather have those other names in terms of fantasy production or roster construction when it comes to Underdog. Do we think Harden shows up for game 1? I'm happy to have so much. Yeah, and Melton's been another guy that I've been picking up, as this is going to be Anthony Davis here for me. Harden, I guess I'll start with Harden. No, I do not. I think he's going to make good on his promise out in China that he's never going to play. another game for a team that Daryl Morey is involved in. And I think, we saw that maybe take a little bit of a turn yesterday when he didn't show up for practice. He is expected to be out tonight for the Sixers preseason finale. So no, I don't think he shows up. I've been getting a lot more Maxey and Tobias. And then, like I mentioned, DeAnthony Melton, you would think slots into that starting lineup. But, that Shake Milton is gone. They do have Kelly Oubre on the bench. So I think that's what I would do, is Melton into the starting five. Oubre is the sixth man, because we know Oubre can still really score it. 20 points per game for Charlotte last year. And we saw Oubre. What did he do the other night? Obviously, Embiid has been out for all of these games. He's expected in tonight. If we're looking ahead to the DFS slate this evening, let me pull up the Philadelphia box scores, because I know we had a big Oubre game the other day. Yeah, Oubre slid into the starting lineup the other night, and for PJ Tucker. 33 minutes, took 24 shots, just 21 points, 9 out of 24 for old Kelly Oubre there. But 21, 4-4 with 4 stocks. That's a very Kelly Oubre stat line. So I think you can include him as well. He's a very similar type of pick to Melton in my eyes, Chris. So I think that's maybe somebody you can add to that list. I guess you have 2 drafts left, so maybe a little bit late there, but I've been grabbing a few Kelly Oubre shares. This is close, man. I think this is going to be, I'm going to grab a LaMelo share here. I haven't had a ton of LaMelo. And if he's going to play, I feel like he missed like 40 games last year. If he's going to play 65 plus, I think getting him at 17 could end up being a value from a fantasy perspective, because we know what he does on a point per minute basis. I was considering right there getting really wild with it again, trying to diversify my builds as I'm 130 something drafts in at this point. Starting Anthony Davis and Wemby, and then obviously not taking a big the rest of the draft, but that just makes it really thin. But those are the types of builds that I'm trying to think about doing as we get down the stretch here, is just changing things up a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, taking some Oubre since he signed too, and I mean he's still like 140. 141.5 is the ADP on Oubre there. So I think, you're looking in that range. He's right around, Jarris Walker, I'm still a fan of, even though I've really cooled on, because I had so much of him early on when his ADP was in the 160s. I do think Jonathan Kuminga, his ADP has been rising as well, but I like him there. Kelly Oubre, Jalen Johnson, those are probably the 4 targets for me in that area. Getting back to the top here, Wemby still on the board at 24. So man, if Bolanola doesn't take Wemby here, I will be perplexed, because it worked out about as good as possible if you're going to fade Jokic at 1 and go Giannis. And maybe they're drafting off their own ranks here, because I think that's the second straight pick. Okay, Jaylen Brown. Yeah, so Bolanola is drafting off their own rankings here. So this is very interesting. And then we had at 2, we have Jokic and Bam. So we have it'll be interesting to see if J.W. Olin there takes another center the rest of this draft, because if you like Bam, all right, but it's got to be, for me, no more bigs here. So Jalen and Paolo off the board. 3 wing start there for Bolanola. I don't hate it, but again, it's an interesting conversation now for Zoltar at the 3 spot with Luka and Donovan Mitchell in tow. Do you grab Wemby or do you grab Zion here? I think it's Wemby for me. I think getting into the late 20s now, Wemby feels like a pretty nice value. I wonder if big ticket would do it. Probably not. I've seen big ticket in a ton of drafts. Okay, so Zoltar does take Wemby there. So you got Luka, Spider, and Wemby. That's not a bad start. Big ticket picks up Zion. So LeBron, Zion, and Embiid. I've had a couple teams that started like that at the 4. You have to love that when it falls your way like that. Fox, Tatum, Markkanen for Foss. And then we're coming up on our turns here, fellas. So obviously I'm looking, starting LaMelo and Brow. I'm looking for wings here. But also these two teams in front of me with no wings yet. So Brunson goes off there. So I like to see that. And then Towns. I have a lot of the Clippers guys, and I don't have a ton of Scotty Barnes. And he's been great in the preseason. So trying to get a little bit more Scotty here in my last 20 drafts or so over the weekend. So go Scotty there. Then we've got Ian on the clock. Ian's got Hallie and McCall Bridges. So a very, very solid start there for E. I don't know if he just autoed or what, but Jimmy Butler, not a bad pick there. Now UNC on deck for 2 at the turn here. UNC working with Trae Young and Pascal Siakam. So a solid start there at the 12 or the 1-2 turn. Now coming up on 3-4 with DeJounte Murray off the board. Paul George. Very good. Yeah. Ian got autoed on that one. So there you go. Jimmy Butler. There could be worse picks there for sure. There could be worse picks. UNC taking his time after Paul George and Brandon Ingram. So now UNC, the 1-3-0 start through 4 rounds, Siakam, PG, and Brandon Ingram on the wing. I like it. I do like it. So we've got Ian on deck here with JD Noel. Noel takes Mobley. Now Ian with the Hallie and Bridges and Jimmy. So you've got Triple J there. You've got Kyrie. You've got Kawhi, Jamal Murray, Cade Cunningham. A lot of different ways to go here. Don't do it again, Ian. Okay, so he took Cade. I like the Cade pick. And so I'm gonna go Kawhi here, get my second wing. And now we've got a little bit of a stretch until we're back up. Let's see, wing early. Was tempted to take Triple J. He has been dipping in ADP. We've seen a lot of movement, and that makes sense, right? As this tournament is filling at a much faster pace. People coming in with their own ideas about how this season is going to go for certain teams and players, and that is shifting things. I've constructed a lot of teams over the last week that's just like guys that I like that are falling to me. And yeah, I think Triple J, you look at him here at 44. Fast could take him here, and I think that would be a good value. Jamal Murray off the board. There goes Triple J to big ticket, who's now got LeBron, Zion, Joel Embiid, and Triple J. So a very strong start there. Franz off the board. And then we've got these 2 very interesting teams. We can just pull up the board where the 2 spot has Jokic and Bam, then Poole and Harden. He took Poole at 26, which, look, I think it's a reach. I don't hate it. Like, we saw the upside scoring-wise, right? From Poole the other night, put up the 40 burger in the preseason. And Ian, you and I were talking about it. I think there's going to be some multiple 50 spots from Poole this year, I would think. So Kuzma, Bolanola going 4 wings to start. I love early wings. That's kind of overkill for me, especially with some of the other options that have been on the board at that turn for him. So we'll see where he goes with his 5th rounder here. I'm dual screening it here with the phone because I've got those slow drafts going that are down to hour clocks. So see what we've got going on this side of things. Yeah, I think that's a good question, right? I think if I'm setting a line, it's probably 1.5. It might be 2 flat though. It might be 2 because I think 2 is the number probably. 3 is a lot. 3 is a lot of 50-point games in one season. But he's just going to have the ball. He's going to, you thought he was shot happy in Golden State. Just wait. I mean, that game the other night. Again, no Kuzma in that one, but that's against the Knicks too. And like the Knicks were playing their guys. The Knicks starters all got 25 plus minutes. Jordan Poole, that was 41 points on 19 shots. 6 of 12 from 3. Got to the line 16 times. What do you guys think? I say 2. I say 2 50-point games for Jordan Poole. We're coming back up on the clock here. LaMelo, Scotty Barnes, Kawhi, and Brow in tow. Oh, I was going to take Chet there. Oh, brutal. I think this is a relatively easy selection for me here with my guy, Scoot Henderson. So it's going to be Scoot for me. I'm just going to add to the bevy of Scoot shares that I have already this preseason. I can look right now. I have Scoot is my 3rd highest owned player. I have him in a 3rd of my teams thus far. Getting a pick in for this other draft. We'll get some Jalen Green. We don't have a ton of Jalen Green. And we'll go Kyrie there. And I have cleared my queue, so we should be good at least to the end of this draft. Ian takes Jabari. That was the other guy I was considering. I don't have a ton of Jabari Smith yet either. And I was not super high on him coming into the preseason. But he's looked good, and all the reports out of camp are that he's being a little bit more aggressive with his shot. Just a little bit more direct, and that's good. I think having some adults there in I was about to say Dylan Brooks, but now Fred VanVleet, Ime Udoka, I think, those types of additions to this club are going to help Jabari this season. And did you with Scoot? Were you going to take Scoot there? All right, so back on the clock as Ian takes Claxton, UNC grabs Anthony Simons and Bradley Beal, so some good value there. One guy I have some interest in here, especially since I can't take I have some interest in OG there, but I have Scotty Barnes, so I'm not going to double up. I'm going to grab some Drew Holiday because I think he's being drafted appropriately here, but I don't have a ton of shares. And out of these guards that remain, in terms of like a fantasy point per minute guy, we know Drew Holiday can produce alongside other high usage guys sharing the court with Giannis and Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez over the last couple of years. So I don't have too many concerns. Again, I think he's getting older. There's certainly more mouths to feed in Boston before Drew compared to Milwaukee, with Kristaps Porzingis being added to the mix next to Brown and Tatum. But I do. That's just, again, with my portfolio, trying to get a couple more Drew Holiday shares in here before the buzzer on Tuesday. So going back to the board here, we've got. See, after I took Drew, Porzingis, Jeremy Grant, CJ McCollum, Keldon Johnson. Now Tyler Hero off the board. Check. Well, that's unfortunate. We might re-fire up. So I did not schedule this stream here today, and it looks like it is unlisted. So I know we've had Mark in here, Brackenridge, etc., a couple other guys. Want to make sure that they know that the stream is going on here. So. That's a little frustrating. OG at 70 is nice to Zoltar there. So Zoltar in the 3 spot. Luka, Donovan Mitchell at guard. Franz and OG on the wing. Wemby and Şengün. That's not a bad start. Bolanola continues to be horny for these wings. Now a 1-6-0 build in the 1 spot. Okay. Aaron Gordon off the board at 74. See how many teams don't have a big yet. Just UNC, Bolanola, and Foss in the 5 spot here. It's shaping up for a Mark Williams pick there for UNC, I think. We've got another big here in the 2 spot, pairing Gobert adding Gobert to the depth chart of Jokic and Bam. They just grabbed their first wing there. So again, this is sometimes you see the accounts here with no badges that clearly just have no idea about roster construction. So I think we have to feel good about that being in a draft room like this. Coming back around here, almost on deck. 3-2-1 build here for me. Devin Vassell is a candidate at guard. I think Rozier too. Rozier has looked great in the preseason. And yeah, I am. You're right. Because right here, Tobias Harris, we were talking about those Philly pieces a few minutes ago. I like Tobias Harris here. Michael Porter, I don't think there's any serious concern about his current injury that's kept him out the entire preseason. Kind of same thing with Cam Johnson in that hamstring, but also Thompson. I'm buying into the preseason results, the preseason hype here. So taking Osser at 81 overall, now to that 3-3 build. Again, on the guard side too, I think, yeah, get sniped, son. I think with the 3-3-1 build here, I have to start looking for another big at some point soon. Rozier goes off at 82 to Ian, like that pick. And let's see. So I need to respond to a message here. All right. So UNC, Vassell, and Jarrett Allen at the turn. Love the Vassell pick right there in the mid-80s. That guy can 39% from 3 last year for Devin Vassell. Small-ish sample because he missed like 38 games or whatever it was. But shooting the crap out of it in this preseason as well. And then Point Sohan at 87 to Ian. I like that pick. The way this draft room is, I want to lock in another big here. I do like Ben Simmons a lot. I've been getting a ton of Ben Simmons. Tobias Harris is still on the board. I think I'm going to go Tobias, actually. Mark Williams, obviously my favorite center in that range, but other centers left, and I've got my one stud there in Anthony Davis, so we'll fill in around him a little bit later. But back just to that Devin Vassell point. Vassell the other night, 21 points in 22 minutes on 6 of 9 shooting against the Heat. That was last Friday. And then against the Rockets the other night at home, 25 minutes, 25 points for Vassell, and 8 of 14 shooting and 5 of 10 from 3. It's just going to be a lot easier on offense for these guys with that 7'4" Frenchman in there. Going back to the board here. After I took Tobias and Ian took Sohan, we had Keegan Murray, Brandon Miller, Klay Thompson, Cam Johnson, then big ticket takes Austin Reeves at 93. Austin Reeves had a good game last night against the Suns. Here, because I know Ian's listening, here's some MLS news. Bruce Arena put his name forward to DC United for their coaching vacancy, per sources. And it also says DC is considering but focused on GM search. Bruce Arena would need to submit petition to commissioner to return following the investigation earlier this season. So there's your one dose of MLS news here on the NBA Best Ball stream. All right, tapping back again here. Slack message. Yeah, 160 build, and now 260. But yeah, that's what I was talking about a minute ago. And I think, like, looking at the way this is going, UNC, Bolanola is drafting off their own rankings, and I've never put my own rankings in, so I don't know. Are there ways to put positional constraints in there? Because I don't think anybody, if they're like, there's no way that guy wants to start with 1 guard, 6 wings, and no bigs. You wouldn't think. So that team is now Giannis, Jaylen Brown, Paolo Banchero, Kyle Kuzma, Andrew Wiggins, RJ Barrett on the wing, Darius Garland, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Ben Simmons. So doubling up on the Dinwiddie, Ben Simmons backcourt there, that doesn't seem ideal. Big ticket putting together a nice little roster here with Embiid, Triple J, and Mark Williams at center, LeBron, Zion, and Chris Middleton on the wings. And then taking the shot on John Morant coming back after the 25-game suspension, pairing him with Tyler Hero and Austin Reeves. To this point, I've got the 3-4-1 build with LaMelo, Scoot, and Drew, Scotty, Kawhi, Oscar Thompson, and Tobias Harris on the wings, and Anthony Davis all alone in the middle at this point. So coming up here, I've been getting a little bit more Shaedon Sharpe when I don't get Scoot. Shaedon Sharpe looks like he could definitely be in this starting lineup. I had some questions there. I think that's what he should be, but, Chauncey Billups. So on the clock here, Jaden Ivey looks like he's going to be the 6th man for Detroit, so I don't have a ton of interest there. I would like to get a big on this turn, and I see that Ian and UNC also only have one big apiece. So Duren, Wendell Carter, both in consideration for me here. I think I'm going to go Wendell Carter just, with the logjam of bigs that they have there in Detroit. Duren is obviously the guy that they have the most invested in, but you've got Bagley there. He's still starting next to Beef-Stew. You've got James Wiseman there as well. So Wendell Carter, my pick there at 105. Now we've got E on the clock. And yes, yeah. Ian, not happy at all. So he's going to go Shaedon Sharpe there. I do like that pick. So E now, Hallie, Cade, Rozier, Shaedon in the backcourt, Bridges, Butler, Jabari, and Jeremy Sohan with Nick Claxton there at the big. So E probably trying to grab, I would imagine, one of these remaining bigs, a Nurk, a Duren, a Clint Capella or, some of these, Daniel Gafford, Okongwu, what have you. Buddy Hield off the board. Again, Buddy Hield coming off the bench this season for the Pacers. Chris, the last I saw, the guy's at practice. The Hornets did not cut him. So we'll see, man. The fact that there wasn't immediate action, I'll slow my roll in saying that the guy should be out of the league. But, if those allegations are true, then I think he should be. That wasn't the rumor was he threw pool balls at his ex's car, right? I did see a clip. So UNC taking the Miles Bridges shot there. And yeah, I get it, man. If he's going to play, again, we are not worried about morals and values and principles here. We're worried about fantasy points. And if he plays, now you're getting him at an extreme value in the triple digits. So we've got Ian back on the clock here with the 4-4-1 build. See where he goes. Okay, so you did take Jalen Duren. I didn't know if that D-Lo was calling your name, the purple and gold there. So I think this is going to be, I'm a little bit less optimistic on a guy like Trey Jones now that he's going to be off the bench for San Antonio. And I only have 3 guards, but I do like taking the shot on Obi Toppin here, who's going to open the season as the starting 4 in Indiana. And I have so much Jarris Walker trying to offset some of those shares with some Obi Toppin, who is the leader at the position to start the year. So going back to the board, checking out what some of our opponents are doing. I think very interesting draft here from the 7th spot here, Ben St. Nick, with the red badge there. So an experienced drafter on the site, started the build 4-0-3 before picking up Keegan Murray and Bruce Brown and then adding Jaden Ivey. So again, you look at some of these builds and I look at a build like that and I feel like it has next to no chance in a tournament like this, where you have to start 2 wings. That team is going to struggle. Similarly, right there, no badge on CAC 3779, but Sabonis, Booker, Brunson, Bane, Tyrese Maxey to start. Loading up on the wings here late, but again, Jeremy Grant, Brandon Miller, Danny Avdia, and Tari Eason, you're going to need a lot to go right there on the wing to have a shot at that. Hold on, what is this? Derrick Lowe Russell? Explain yourself, Ian. What kind of Lakers jokes are you peddling here? Yeah, wing 5. Yeah, I agree, UNC. It is a bit of a logjam, but I think they also can condense this rotation pretty well to where all those guys can get a touch. I think Brandon Miller is the odd man out right now in terms of who's going to get the massive minutes. And I think Gordon Hayward's the one that would lose minutes first in terms of Brandon Miller taking a bigger role. Because the last time we saw Miles Bridges, man, he was 27-4 or something a game. He said he wants to be Derek White this season. What does he mean by that? I don't know if I could think of 2 more polar opposite guards than D'Angelo Russell and Derek White. Maybe if it was D'Angelo Russell versus Davion Mitchell or something. I don't know. But in terms of starting guards, D'Lo, well known for his self-awareness. So we finally see that team at the 1 spot take a center. It was Clint Capella. So they are now on a 4-6-1 build. So again, at this point in the draft, that's not crazy, but just the order of operations there was interesting. Makes winning plays, and he's a defender now. Okay. All right, D'Lo. Derrick Low Russell. Okay, nice. I'm getting the multiple members of the Celtics. Okay, let's see what they said. I'm coming back up on the clock here. Making all the winning plays. Joe Mazzulla, that's a great goal to have, to be someone like him. Who else was talking here? Okay. All right, D'Lo. Hey, he's saying the right things, right? All right, on the clock here. This is a pretty easy pick for me. Just in terms of the upside, I'm taking Amin Thompson here. Not going to start for this team, and of course, for both Thompson brothers, the shot needs some work. But the peripheral stats, I think, are going to be there. He's going to have a role off the bench. So I got the Thompson twin pairing on this team, and I feel pretty good about it. Figure they try to trade Hayward midseason to give. Yeah, I think Hayward and Rozier, right? Rozier is expiring, if I recall correctly. Let me pull up the Hornets cap sheet. Rozier not expiring. Gordon Hayward, though, is expiring. $31.5 million on that expiring deal. So Miles Bridges also expiring, and they're only paying him $8 million this year. He takes Emmanuel quickly. Yeah. High upside pick at 130. Yeah, man. Again, I think the only issue I have with them is the shot not being consistent yet, but they're both 19, right? So like there's plenty of time. And I think there is a much better structure in place in Houston at this point for Amin's development. And Monty Williams being there in Detroit should be good for Osser. I think they're fantastic picks where you can get them really on both sides. Monty is running Osser massive minutes. If he's going to get 30 plus minutes in the regular season, he's an extreme value where we can get him, in the 90s. 90.5 is his ADP. Yeah, man, right? Not surprised. And like, how much higher would the hype be? And to see UNC going Okongwu, DeAnthony Melton. I was hoping you guys would let Melton slip through and get to me there, but not to be. So Kelly Oubre goes to Ian. I like that pick. I would also be considering Jalen Johnson here. I have a buttload of Jalen Johnson now as his. I've been single-handedly raising his ADP over the last couple weeks. The pick here for me, I have a ton of Steven Adams. So I'm going to take a high upside swing here on Bobby Portis. If I forget the username of the guy who's drafting first, but the guy who took Giannis, if Giannis goes out, we know Bobby Portis slots into that role. So behind Anthony Davis and Wendell Carter, take the high upside shot on Bobby Portis there and differentiate. I would take Steven Adams if this was the only team I was drafting all year. Steven Adams would have been the pick there, probably followed by Zach Collins. Yeah. The baguette. That's what I was going to say is how high would we be? Like I was the entire draft season, myself, Mike Randall, etc. We're so high on Scoot, and I think Charlotte made another mistake drafting Brandon Miller. Not that he's going to be a bad NBA player by any means, but I think Scoot would have been in the tier of his own at the top. And the Thompson twins, like the hype would be so much higher on those three guys if Wembanyama wasn't in that draft. And I really think that could turn into this past year's draft could really turn into an all-timer, and not just because of Wemby, like Scoot and the twins and Brandon Miller and Bilal Coulibaly, who looks good in the preseason. I think Jarris Walker can contribute. Derek Lively is but like in a few years, maybe we're raising our eyebrows at that a little bit. He looks to be on pace to start for Dallas. Keontae George looks good. Jaime Jaquez looks good, although he's a little bit older compared to some of these other prospects. Cam Whitmore, obviously, the ceiling is there. Podziemski has looked good for the Warriors. Omax might start at some point this year for Dallas. The draft was loaded, man. Hunter Tyson, who was picked 37th, he's gonna make that Nuggets roster. So yeah, man, that draft. I can see Terrence in here. What's the best case scenario for Jalen Johnson with Okongwu right there? The best case scenario, Terrence, is he starts, and I think he's going to open the season, start at the 4. And even if he doesn't, I think he's, the 6th man, at least in the front court. Like, they've got Bogdan there, obviously, who's probably the true 6th man for the Hawks. But Jalen Johnson, when he gets the opportunity, can fill up the box score. And Okongwu, like, I don't think Okongwu's a 4. Like, I don't think we're going to see him paired with Capella a ton this year. So I don't think, right, Okongwu taking over for Capella in the starting unit would not surprise me. But like the fact that he can't shoot, you can't play those two guys together. So Jalen Johnson is again a guy that I've gotten a ton of over the last. So, yeah. So that I would be interested, Terrence, to hear your thoughts on why not? Because they got rid of John Collins, right? And they did not replace him. To me, it points to, and we've seen Jalen Johnson get multiple starts. Again, DeAndre Hunter has been out. Sadiq Bey missed a game in there in the preseason, but Jalen Johnson is the guy picking up a lot of that slack left by John Collins from a minutes perspective. And he's a very productive fantasy asset. He's point per minute type of guy last year. No, I know, but he's the 3. Who's the 4? It's Jalen Johnson or it's Sadiq Bey. Because again, they can't start those two centers together. They can't. It would be awful. And they're already not great. Yeah, so it could be Sadiq Bey, but Sadiq Bey ain't playing 48 minutes. It is, I think, at minimum 22 minutes per game for Jalen Johnson. And I think he ends up winning that job and Bey comes off the bench. Quinn has been clear he wants to have shooting at the 4. Yeah, they can't play the centers. So I'm with you there. And now I'm on the clock as we get into these discussions, which I love. I appreciate you guys, firing these questions because these are great discussions to have as we're coming to the end of draft season. I'm going to continue to grab Bilal Coulibaly shares here late in drafts, reaching a little bit, but man, the guy produces. It's preseason, right? But the trajectory for Coulibaly over the last 2.5, 3 years is just pointing. The arrow is straight up. And so, yeah, man, I'm with you on Quinn wants to have shooting at the 4. And again, if he wants shooting at the 4, it's Sadiq Bey starting, right? But I think Jalen Johnson is a higher upside player than Sadiq Bey. So and both from a real hoop standpoint and a fantasy standpoint. I'd take Trey Murphy. Well, yeah, but Trey Murphy's going to miss 10, 12 games. And he's not as good of a fantasy producer. But I agree with you. I shouldn't say I agree with you wholeheartedly there, but I like Trey Murphy as well. And also what keeps me away from Trey Murphy a little bit more in these drafts is my own roster construction and my love for rostering Zion. And if I don't get Zion, trying to get Brandon Ingram. But I'm with you. I was keeping that within the bounds of the original question of what's the best case scenario for Jalen Johnson with Okongwu. And I don't think they have a ton to do with each other. So Ian goes Kevin Huerter there, which brings up another interesting conversation, I think, is the apparent battle between Kevin Huerter and Chris Duarte for the starting 3 spot there in Sacramento, or starting 2 guard rather. Which is one to watch, man. That is apparently a real thing, according to Mike Brown. Naz Reid, great late pick there for a big for UNC, who's trying to fill in that big position late in the drafts. Then gets LeVert. Then Time Lord goes to Ian. So I'm up here with the 4-6-3 build, and this is a guy I've been taking a lot of lately in Kobe White. Looks like he's going to be the starting point guard here for the Bulls this season. So getting the Bulls starting point guard at 160 feels pretty good. I'm also coming around on Talon Horton-Tucker, who has been starting for this Jazz team here in the preseason. And if he's going to have any sort of role, which he did not at the beginning of last season, I do like taking him here at 166. So I was picking up Colin Sexton shares early in draft season. Then I pivoted to a lot of Keontae George over the last few weeks. And now I'm starting to pick up a little bit more THT when I'm focusing on grabbing some Utah shares here late on in drafts. There you go. Yeah, 2 upstate New York guys. There you go. And yeah, I like Chris Duarte much more as a player than an asset if I'm building a team because of his age, right? He's like 25, isn't he? He's like, this is his third year in the league. He's 26. So again, I like Duarte. And that's part of what you get with, drafting a 24-year-old is you get that guy who's experienced, who's been in big moments, who's led a team, at the collegiate level. So yeah, I like Duarte as well. I just don't I didn't like him as a high, like a late lottery picker whenever he was drafted. I forget where he was drafted, but yeah, I think he's a nice little pickup there for the Kings. I just got pinged in the NBA Discord. Did I see the Brandon Miller news? I did not. I did not. All right, so here comes our favorite here, Bolanola on the clock. Hey, he got Funaki there. He picked up Steven Adams, so kind of tying this team together. What a wild ass team. I don't think that team has much of a chance with those 3 center options. But we'll see. We shall see. THT. I like that pick there. Bolanola. Coming around. Yeah, so I got pinged in the FTN NBA Discord channel. I guess we could do a little Twitter search. Miller. That may be just they don't play tonight. The family of the family of a woman tragically killed near the University of Alabama is taking legal action against Brandon Miller and 2 others. Is that new? Is that new? Wrongful death lawsuit. Apparently he was in the car and the gun was found in his car unit used in a murder. Yeah. I just didn't know. I didn't know that was like new news. I thought that was already kind of going on. Okay, yeah, that is ESPN. Pull this up on screen 3 over here. Family of a woman and the shooting, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That doesn't seem like it's anything super new to me. So we can talk. I'm gonna fire up at least one more draft here if you guys want to continue to play along here. So again, we're coming down to it. The season starting on Tuesday. Final NBA preseason DFS slate here tonight. Some of the news we've already got for that one. Chris Middleton is back tonight, and Giannis and Dame are expected to get extended minutes. So Giannis going to be a spend up we should be getting to in our DFS lineups here tonight. Here we come on our last turn here in this first draft of the day. looking for a guard here, and I have been taking a lot more Jalen Suggs. He appears to have secured that 2 guard spot there in Orlando. Cam Thomas, even coming off the bench, though, here to me is the high upside pick. And I wonder if I'm going to get another middle finger emoji here from Ian. We'll see. Ian's got the 6-5-3 build with 2 picks left here. Same type of build for UNC as well. So we'll see, it gets really thin here at wing late in the drafts. I do like Santi Aldama there. Taylor Hendricks is a little bit interesting. He's got that lottery draft capital there for Utah. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind after missing summer league for Utah and really hasn't played his way, into a larger role here in the preseason as of yet. Jaden Hardy going to Ian. I like that pick late in drafts, of course. We've had a lot of Jaden Hardy discussion here on the best ball streams in the preseason. You've got guys like Beauchamp, some Amoni Bates buzz out of Cleveland, which would be cool to see him kind of grab a role there. Julian Strother has been shooting the lights out as Aldama goes off the board. Malachi Branham's going to be like the 7th-ish man for San Antonio. Zaire Williams is making his case for a starting spot. And Chris Duarte. Malik Beasley is going to be the starting 2 there in Milwaukee. Goes to UNC. I imagine UNC is looking for some wing depth here to close it out. What's going on with this? J.D. Noel, Durant, Patrick Williams. Look at this team. Durant, Patrick Williams, Santi Aldama. That is a choice. Taylor Hendricks going to UNC there at the first pick of the final round. 7-5-3 build here for Ian with 1 pick left, and I've got the 6-6-3 right behind him. It's Jovic time. We'll see. Where's he at? ADP of 190. He's yours if you want him, as Bagley goes off the board. In terms of these drafts, Terrence, I think it depends on what you need late on. As I'm going to I like Suggs a lot here. Beauchamp is also interesting. I know, Ian, you and I were talking about Marjan last night. I think it's going to be Suggs for me, though, to close this one out. When it comes to these drafts, it depends because obviously both those guys are basically free at the end of drafts, right? So if I need a big, it would be Wiseman. If I need a wing, it would be Bagley. In terms of what I think is actually going to happen there with that team and their front court rotation. I don't know, man. I feel like I might just be creating a take just to have one for you here. I think both of those guys are not long for the league. I would not be surprised if either guy gets a deal, maybe here in Detroit or elsewhere after this season, but I just don't think they're set up for success here in terms of going out to earn that new contract or really turn our heads or, perk our ears up when we hear their stat lines or their production this season. So again, from a drafting standpoint here, it's positional based for me here. Appreciate you, Ian. And again, everybody, if we want to jump into another one here, I'm going to do so. So definitely hang out if you want to keep going here. We've got a couple more picks in this draft, and we can kind of summarize the teams here that we know are on stream. So I finished with the 7-6-3 build at guard. I've got LaMelo and Scoot up top, then Drew Holiday, Amin Thompson, Kobe White, Cam Thomas, and Jalen Suggs. On the wing, Scotty Barnes, my namesake, Kawhi Leonard, Oscar Thompson, Tobias Harris, Obi Toppin, and Bilal Coulibaly. And then with my bigs, the 3-big build, Anthony Davis as the stud big in the first round, then adding Wendell Carter Jr. and Bobby Portis late on. We had Ian drafting at the 10 spot right behind me. He went Tyrese Halliburton, McCall Bridges, Jimmy Butler, Cade Cunningham to start. So 2 guards, 2 wings. Then added Jabari Smith, Nick Claxton, obviously a high upside big night to night, especially here on Underdog where you're getting 3 points apiece for those stocks. Rozier, Point Sohan, again, reach in terms of the ADP there. I do not think that's much of a reach. If you need wing help, because it's rare to find those starting point guards on the wing in the 8th, 9th, and 10th rounds. Shaedon Sharpe, Jalen Duren, Emmanuel Quickley, Kelly Oubre, Kevin Huerter, Time Lord, Jaden Hardy, Nikola Jovic. I like that team from Big Goonch, UNC, going Trae Young, Siakam, PG, Brandon Ingram, then bolstering the guards with Simons, Bradley Beal, and Devin Vassell. Ended up with 4 bigs there. So Jarrett Allen, Onyeka Okongwu, and Naz Reid. Actually, no, 3 bigs, right? 3 bigs. So I like that for holding off the 0 big build, if you will. Josh Hart, Miles Bridges at 109. Again, I think that's a fine lottery ticket to hold now in the triple digits, considering we haven't heard anything else on him yet, and you had plenty of wings above him. D'Anthony Melton, we talked about that pick. LeVert, Beasley, and Taylor Hendricks to close it out. So if we got to like that, all 3 of us, good job by us, we'll say. Jeff says wasn't able to. Yeah, Jeff, we're gonna roll another one if you want to hang out and get in there. And the Amon Oster pairing there on that team. I want to say I have like 1 or 2 others with both of those guys. But yeah, big fan of both, and especially Oster just rising up the draft boards. So let's say it is 105 Central here. So we're gonna do at least one more draft, and probably just one more draft because I think I've got to talk for another 45 minutes later on with Mike Randall for the DFS stream tonight. Let's jump at 107 Central, so 2:07 if you're on the East Coast, 11:07 a.m. if you are on the West Coast. So it's about 65 seconds from now. We'll jump into another double dribble draft here. And as we wait, let me clear my queue here. I want more McCall Bridges. So I'm going to grab him there. Embiid, Markin, and Paolo. It's going to be Cade for me. And being too much of a purist. Yeah, same, man. And I've started to try to grab some of those guys when I can. But I'm with you there. I think that's a good way to put it. I think that's a really good way to put it. So we'll jump in about 20 seconds here. Again, 107 Central. We will enter this double dribble draft room and hope, fingers crossed, that we can all get into the same draft together and have some fun here on draft number 2. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And oh no. What? I try to jump in on mobile. What's going on? No. You guys are gonna be drafting without me. Here we get in on the phone. Oh, am I the last person in? Am I the last person in? We would love it. What do I need to do here? What happened? I'm in the same spot, Underdog. I'm in the same spot. Here we go. Here's the draft. UNC, you bastard. Is this your last draft? We'll give it to you. We'll give you Jokic in your last draft. I believe this is draft 150 for UNC. Who else we got in here? Jeff, Terrence, if you guys are in these rooms, remind me of your username. I'm at 11. I see Brackenridge in there. I know Brackenridge has been over on the team hold streams as well with our buddy Mike Zakarian. So good to see you guys in here. Yeah, last draft, getting Jokic. You deserve it, buddy. See? Yeah, Jeff, I mean, this is what happens when people start flooding these lobbies, in the last week leading up to the season. They want to get a piece of the action. You can draft some teams that you feel really, really good about once all is said and done. Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, Terrence. But those guys are going to put up massive numbers. I mean, we saw Jordan Poole the other night. Granted, Kuzma was out, but it was like 45 points on 19 shots or whatever it was. We were discussing before you got here how many 50-point games Jordan Poole has this year. So I will ask that question again. We had a number of answers there. How many 50-point games does Jordan Poole have this year? My answer is 2. My answer is 2. Okay, so Jeff at the 6. Yeah, accidental victory. That's right. I thought I recognized that name. So that's Jeff at the 6 there. Ah, dang, Terrence didn't make it in. But when you see T-Bear 81 in those draft rooms, watch your back. Terrence in there, sharp as ever. So this draft starts chalk, Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Embiid, with T-Loke on the clock here. So we'll see if it's Tatum, it's SGA, or if we're having fun. Timed out there, so it is Tatum, and now Jeff on the clock has the chance to get an SGA share here. We'll see. Well, SGA, Anthony Edwards. So we are massive chalk here to start. We'll see if anybody throws us any sort of curveballs here the rest of the first round. I don't know, man. Like, this is his team. This is his team. Him and Kuzma. We go Sabonis, Hallie. Now Flip on the clock at 10. Yeah. I mean, I think SGA is the pick there, man. Like, I think if you're going anywhere else, it's Sabonis or it's Anthony Davis, right? I thought I was going to get another Anthony Davis here at 11, but not to be. So this is going to be KD for me. I have a lot of KD. As his ADP has slipped, and I don't get it. I understand that he's struggled with injury the last couple of years, but when he's healthy, man, got him at 9 overall in the ranks right now, I believe. I did have him at 7 starting draft season, but do have Anthony Davis and Sabonis over him now there in the first round. How many? Yeah, well, then we're not talking about teammates jumping him anymore. That was last year. Then we're talking about opponents jumping him. All right, so since you didn't want to have fun, I'm gonna have fun here. Let's do it. Wembanyama at 14. Screw it. Give me more Wemby shares. And the answer is 2, by the way. 2 times that Jordan Poole will play the Warriors cross conference. So if I was not trying to differentiate here and kind of making the content play, and I do want to talk. Let's talk about this, okay? Let's talk about this because until the last 2 weeks, I've been with you, and he's still. I think he's 21 or 22 in my rankings today. Let me pull that up. So I'm with you. That's a reach. Again, I said it as I was clicking the button. That's a reach. We're having fun here. But if you look at what Wembanyama has been doing statistically here in the preseason, if he keeps that up and if he plays 65 games, he is absolutely a second round. Yeah, you think that. And again, like I said before you got in here today, Terrence, he is going to rest those back-to-backs. But the statistical upside here, man, is everything we thought it could be, and then some. He is going to be the most unstoppable basketball player we've ever seen, considering both sides of the court, offensively and defensively. Here in the preseason, where we got preseason stats here, 21 minutes per game, 19.5 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 3 stocks. He's been right around like 1.6 DK points per minute, 1.5 maybe after that last game where he shot it poorly. But man, I think he's absolutely like I'm not telling anybody they're crazy for drafting him 13th or later. Yeah, and you can get your shares in the dailies too. And again, this is a guy, I think I have 6% Wembanyama in my 134 drafts so far. So it's not like I'm going crazy with them. But I think the hype is absolutely warranted from a statistical, from a fantasy standpoint. I knew the guy through like 14 minutes the other night, he was like 1 for 8 from the field, and he had like 23 DK points. Let's see. Had an absolute dream start of Giannis, Wemby. Whew! Yeah. Yeah, see, and that's the type of team where I think you can take a shot on like a Ja or a James Harden, because, you know, if you can keep a team afloat for the first 25 games and then you add Ja back into the mix there. Yeah, and I had to stop taking Ja because I was building teams like that where my first 4 or 5 picks I felt so strongly about that I was grabbing Ja, and I had to stop. You know, you don't want to invest too heavily in the guy who is guaranteed to miss 25 games, right? Especially since the best ball season is not 82 games. It is much less than that in terms of the regular season. Daniel Jones listed questionable against Washington this weekend. And so there's your little NFL news for the stream. So let's see what we've had on the board here after we went Wemby at 14 overall. By far, I have not taken Wemby. I don't think higher than 22, 23 this draft season. So we're having some fun here. Went Steph, Siakam, Julius Randle, Lillard, Bron, LaMelo at 20 feels great. So Tatum and LaMelo and T-Loc on the clock here again. And then UNC. This is just there's no other way for you to go out in your 150th draft of the season than starting Jokic, Paolo, Zion. Good for you. Good for you. I'm not jealous. Not at all. So we've got Jeff back on the clock here. Jeff has SGA and LeBron, so a very hot start for Jeff, and he adds Paul George to the mix there, so a great high upside start. Jimmy Butler goes to David at 31. We've got Fever Kid on the clock, Big Kev, then Flip, and we've got myself and Brackenridge. Brackenridge, if you're watching the stream, show yourself. Join in on the conversation, buddy. I see you over there in the Team Hold streams. So Fever Kid here with Randall and Sabonis. He adds DeJounte Murray. Big Kev on the clock with Hallie and Siakam in tow. Maybe a Bam selection here. Maybe Scotty Barnes. Maybe Kyrie. We'll see. Didn't want to get boxed out at wing. Yeah, same. I mean, that's what we've been preaching that for months. And going back to the last 2 seasons with the best ball strategy, right? On Underdog, the elite wings is something you want to focus on here. And, you know, Kawhi is a guy, obviously, that I get a lot of in this range, but I've been trying to grab more Scotty Barnes. So I'm happy that he is here for me at 311. So we'll add Scotty Barnes to Kevin Durant. Feel pretty good there. Now Brackenridge on the clock for 2 picks with Trae Young and McCall Bridges already on the roster. A number of center options to choose from there with Bam and Triple J and Mobley. High upside guards in Kyrie, Jamal Murray, Cade Cunningham, Jordan Poole, who we were just talking about. So Triple J does go off the board to Brackenridge there, grabbing his first big, and then Brandon Ingram. I like those picks. I have a decent amount of Kyrie Irving, Jamal Murray, Cade Cunningham. I think it's probably going to be we're going to take the upside of Kyrie here and take the risk. I have a lot of him, though. I don't have, out of the 3 that I like here in Kyrie and Jamal and Cade, I think Jamal's going to be the pick here. Fully healthy Jamal Murray coming into the season. We'll take that as Jordan Poole goes off the board right after me. Jeff coming back up on the clock with SGA, LeBron, and PG. A lot of guard, again, to your point, Jeff, right? You get boxed out at the wing. This is exactly what happens. Where just on the screen here, you've got like 6, 7 guards, 5 or 6 bigs, and just Kyle Kuzma in terms of that ADP. So you're gonna have to reach if you're needy at wing here in the late 4th round, early 5th round. Again, in terms of that ADP. Bam Adebayo at 43 to Jeff. That feels like pretty good value there. So SGA, Bron, PG, Bam. I mean, grabbing Bam 14 picks after ADP. I do not have a lot of Bam, maybe 1 or 2 shares in my drafts. But if I can get him at 43, I would have a lot more Bam. So I like that. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. So not bad. And I think this maybe kind of playing into what you said earlier, Jeff, talking about how we've got some new fresh faces in these draft rooms, and it's shifting things around where you can get, and you've got, doofuses like me taking Wembanyama at 14 just for the giggles. Good to see Josh in here. Josh, you missed the draft today, man. We'll do one later. We got 16 more drafts to do between now and Tuesday. What? Sohan, you mean? I'm going to say, I'm going to use that. I'm going to say that's Jeremy Sohan because, Spurs. He's a fantastic value right now. The first draft we did today, Josh, he went, I think, at 87 to our buddy Ian, which I think is it's a little bit higher than where I have him in the rankings, but you're not going to find, we said this during the last draft, you're not going to find a starting point guard at the wing position very often here on Underdog, much less in the triple digits. So I'm a big fan of Sohan, and I think I'm up to 28% Sohan. He has crept into the top 10 in terms of my ownership percentages through my 134 drafts so far. Yeah, what is that? What is that even auto-correcting to, though? UNC on the turn, adding Giddey and Kuzma. So UNC has started Jokic, Paolo, Zion, Giddey, and Kyle Kuzma. UNC, did you consider maybe adding a Ja or a James Harden right there? The 2 guys that get drafted right after you. I don't dislike the Kuzma pick at all. I was just wondering your thought process there, because I think that type of start, that's where I really start to consider taking a risk on one of those guys that's, going to be a 0 for you through the first few weeks or months of the season. So those 2 guys go, Vooch and Levine. Now Jeff on the clock. Jeff with the 1-2-1 build through 4 rounds. We've got David and Big Kev coming up as well, who both guys do not have a big yet. 3 teams total without a big. 3 spot there with the 4-1-0 build. David takes Şengün. Fred VanVleet, I like at 54, goes to Jeff. And now we're getting close to our turns again. Let's see. I did 100% one save. Yeah. Again, and it depends. Like, I don't know how much Harden or Morant have you been taking throughout, again, with your 150th draft being this one. You have any idea what your ownership percentages are there on those 2 guys? Would I take a lunch bet that Poole's highest scoring game happened at? Absolutely. Josh, we've already had 2 discussions already about how many 50-point games we think he has this year. And my answer is 2. So I would, if you want to make that lunch bet, I'm in for it. Just let me know. On deck here, I have a ton of Scoot. I also have KD here, so probably not looking Bradley Beal. I think I'm just going to take my guy here again. We're going to take Scoot and continue loading up on the 2nd overall pick. There you go. First lunch bet of the year. Jordan Poole. I'm gonna count on you to remember that, Josh. And I'm sure it'll cross my mind when we see that first Jordan Poole 50 I don't even need to get to 50, right? What was that the other night? Where's Washington? Okay, back on the clock as Brackenridge goes Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons. So 3 Blazers off the board right in a row. I got Scotty Barnes again. Very similar draft to what we did earlier on. We don't have a ton of Keldon, but I'm not a huge fan of that this year. This is going to be Wiggs for me. We'll go Andrew Wiggins. 1% Harden. Yeah, see, I think I'm like that 1 to 2% Harden. And my John Morant, I was at like 20% a few weeks ago, so now it's down to like 12 or something for me, 12 or 13, because I haven't taken them in a couple weeks. But yeah, that's about right. Getting back to Jordan Poole, 41 the other night. So I don't need an injury exception, Josh. 41 is the line, so I just need him to score 42 to get free lunch off you. I can't wait to eat that sandwich. Yeah, we talked about that too, Terrence. Devin Vassell shooting the absolute lights out. And he was already a really good shooter last year, 39% from 3. Made a big leap in year 2 there. Or was that year 3? That was year 3. But he went from 17 minutes a game his rookie year, 6 points a game. Second year, 27 minutes a game and 12 points. And then last year, 31 minutes, 18.5 points a game with 4 boards and 4 assists and a stock and a half. And I think Devin Vassell averages 21 or 22 points a game. If he's getting more than that, then he's in the most improved player conversation. But absolutely smacking that thing in the preseason. I think the last Friday was 23 points in 22 minutes, and then the other night against Houston, 25 points in 25 minutes. And it's just going to be so much easier for all of those guys in San Antonio to score and get to their spots with the gravity that Wembanyama has. Oh, fantasy score. What was his fantasy score? Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to take that. So it's 41. 4 turnovers with 6 threes. So 42, 46, 49, 55, 56 and a quarter. 56 and a quarter. Yeah, I'll still take that. He's going to have a 60 this year, at least one. Most of those jobs are weight on big builds. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. We're going to do a weekly best ball review show during the season. We could. That's an idea. That's an interesting idea, Jeff. Maybe an article, maybe alternating. But yeah, I know one thing I do have in the plans, Jeff, is when they open the playoff best ball, like the NBA playoffs best ball contests. I love those. A completely different strategy. Right in the playoff best ball contest. So we will do strategy articles and streams for that later on in the regular season as we get ready for the NBA playoffs. So hopefully you'll join me for that too, because it's been a blast having you guys around here the last few weeks. Check back in on UNC here, grabbing Tyler Hero and Russell Westbrook. I like that at the turn. So now a 3-3-1 build for UNC. Very nice. Jeff now on the clock. He's got the 2-2-2 build coming into round 7 here. And Devin Vassell, you bastard. Was certainly considering my guy Vassell there coming if he was going to drop to me at 83. Aaron Gordon off the clock now to the 7 spot. Rozier, Jalen Williams. I don't have a ton of either of those guys, so I'm fine to take them. We talked about Tobias Harris love last draft, rather. Keegan Murray off the board. Let's see. NBA weekly winner. So what is that like? It would be like a week-long type of best ball draft or like best ball format. I don't know if you would call it that because it's a weekly contest. Yeah, maybe though. I mean, they can make small contests for it. It's going to be another Oscar Thompson here for me. go ahead and get Osser. Haven't drafted Vassell. Yeah, I mean, and I was getting a lot of Vassell before everybody else started noticing that he was going way too late. And I'm still drafting him in the 80s there, even late 70s. I think it's a fine pick. Tobias goes to Breckenridge along with Tyus Jones. So I like Ben Simmons here, but I don't have a ton of J-Dub, and I don't have a ton of Rozier. I'll grab Rozier. We'll take a Scary Terry share. So we're moving along here in the 8th round. In-season bet. Yeah, I mean, they do that for NFL, right? I think I saw one that started in like week 5 or week 6. There was a larger contest. I would certainly be in on a mid-season, maybe a month and a half into the season, kind of a redraft type of tournament. Would certainly be in there. Yeah, exactly. Hey, there's Easy B in here. Easy B, good to see. How many bridges are you building today, Easy? I've got 10 minutes to make my pick in another draft, so we'll do that on the separate screen here. Maybe a Kelly Oubre share. I have Embiid. I think we'll take Oubre. I've got a lot of Jalen Johnson, so we'll take Oubre there. What other drafts do I have coming up? This one's got 15 minutes, so we'll go ahead and make that pick. Guard or forward. I'm going to do a Miles Bridges there. Same kind of theory as UNC had in the last draft. Taking them late on. Build Bridge to 10K. Yeah, hopefully tonight, right? You already got your one, Easy. I want one. How's the UFC card this weekend, Josh? Is it a good one? After I took Scary Terry, Jarrett Allen, Ben Simmons, Jonas Valanciunas, Jakob Poeltl, Bruce Brown, J-Dub at 92, good value, Klay Thompson, Spencer Dinwiddie, a UNC on deck here. See what Dylan is doing here in the 2 spot. He's got a 5-2-1. I don't like it. I don't hate it, though, because he's got the Giannis and Jaylen Brown, the high floors there on the wings, but interesting build. UNC with the 3-3-1 coming into this turn. MPJ up the board. See what he does with 9-1. Best card of the year. Interesting. We're in month 10 of this year, so must be good. Do a little write-up. We'll be looking for that. The Mark Williams hype has gotten out of control. He's now going 30 picks ahead of Jalen Duren and Duren was drafted. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should factor in where guys were drafted in the actual NBA draft to our fantasy, like a little bit, right? But the further away you get from a guy being drafted, the less that matters. But is he really going 30 picks ahead in ADP? That feels so 95. Ooh, 18 picks ahead. There's a much clearer path to upside, I still think, with Mark Williams. But again, Mark Williams is my highest drafted player. At least half of those shares I got in like the 120s and maybe 130s early on in draft season. He's now being drafted. I think it's appropriate at 95. No, it's still a good point to bring up. Because I do think like out of the rest of those guys, like your Nurkic, your Capella, I think Duren should be more in that Wendell Carter range around 105. So to me, it's more about Duren being a little bit undervalued rather than Mark Williams being overdrafted right now. Williams is getting to the point where again, I've been cooling off a little bit, partially because I had too much from when he was being drafted later, and just because, again, I think he's being drafted in the appropriate spot now. See Jeff taking the chance on Miles Bridges at 102. Again, we like to see that. Just from an upside standpoint in these drafts. So I've got the 3-4-1 build here with just Wemby. So I think this is going to be, I'm going to take Jalen Duren here, especially because Brackenridge has just one big. So more worried about getting the big that I want at this point of the draft, and I can get one of these other guards here. We'll see what Brackenridge does. I don't know if Brackenridge is tuned in and listening quietly, not participating in our discussion here, just trying to snipe us. He takes D'Lo. That was probably going to be my pick there, so well done. And then he reaches down to Daniel Gafford, which I don't necessarily disagree with. So looking for a guard here. Might be Derek White. Marco Fultz in consideration. I'm going to go ahead and take Derek. Pull the board back up here. Josh Hart goes off the board. See some other talk for tonight if any of you guys are playing the daily fantasies. Joel Embiid will make his preseason debut here tonight, and the quote was, "Key Sixers will play significant minutes." So we've already seen significant minutes from a lot of the key Sixers that have been active. So more of the same, I think, from Maxey and Harris, but Embiid in there tonight, a little bit different in terms of how that usage is going to get spread out. We talked about Milwaukee a little bit earlier. Houston expecting a dress rehearsal tonight after resting guys on Wednesday against San Antonio. Jalen Green is back tonight. Tari Eason did not go through shoot around, so it looks like my boy Tari going to miss out on that dress rehearsal tonight. Jeff pointing out Fever Kid with a 5 big start. So that is in the 8 spot. Fever Kid has 2 wings. He's got Julius Randle and Keegan Murray. He's got 3 guards, Amen Thompson, DeJounte Murray, and Darius Garland, and his 5 bigs, Sabonis, Porzingis, Kessler, J-Val, Okongwu. That's how you build your team right out of contention. Good find there. Good shout, Jeff, on finding the 5 big player here in this draft. Be interesting to see what the Pistons do tonight. All their starters got 21 or 22 minutes last night, so I don't think we're going to see like a full dress rehearsal here. Probably more of the same. In Dallas, looks like Kyrie is going to be back tonight. Josh Green as well. Both guys practiced in full this week. Jaden Hardy is doubtful. I believe that's an ankle injury. I think Golden State probably rests guys after they played big minutes on Wednesday. That was an exciting end to a preseason game with the Steph Curry game winner over De'Aaron Fox, as the Kings played their guys like 36 minutes in that one. Let's see. Yeah, paying the rake, and we love to see it. Might need another center now. Yeah, I mean, but you have Jokic again, so like, I mean, I think you're fine right now. There's going to be guys in the 12th and 13th turn that you can pick up and feel okay about, I think. No, real, like the NBA draft, Josh. Was it Terrence? Who was that brought up? Was that Jeff? Yeah. Jeff brought up that Duren was drafted before Mark Williams in last year's NBA draft. And I'm saying that doesn't matter much to me when it comes to evaluating fantasy upside, especially the further away you get from an NBA draft. So UNC went Marcus Smart, Jaden Ivey, then Bojan off the board, Jaden McDaniels, Trey Jones, and Obi Toppin at 125. It's a pretty darn good value there for T-Loke in the 5 spot. Jeff taking Jordan Clarkson. I'm coming up again with the 4-4-2 build. Couple guys you got to like here. Kuminga, Jarris Walker still I'm a fan of. Schroeder, starting point guard there for the Raptors. D'Anthony Melton with James Harden still, in Houston, I guess. Big Kev on the clock with the 4-5-1. He goes Harrison Barnes. Flip with the 4-3-3. And then I'm on deck with the little Brackenridge sandwich there on the turn. All right, Steven Adams off the board. That's going to allow me to get a DeAnthony Melton share in here. Dort and Kevon Looney. Probably going to be... I have so much Jalen Johnson. We'll go Sadiq Bey. Change it up a little bit. What do people think Obi Toppin will produce? Not enough for me to be drafting him where I've seen some people reaching for him like right around 105-ish. Again, like he's sharing the court with Halliburton, who's going to have the ball in his hands at all times. Ben Mathurin, who is high usage. Miles Turner, who, can stretch the floor. Obi's going to have all the opportunity in the world to produce here. And I'm an Obi Toppin fan, for sure, but never been a super efficient guy from three, and not really. I mean, he had a down year last year. He was 53% from the field in his sophomore season, and then last year down to 45% from the field. Did get up to 34% from three, but again, that's not any great shakes there. So I'm not expecting a ton out of him. 5 spot is doing a draft. Great job drafting the wing spot if you don't get 2 in the first 4 rounds. Let's see. There's T-Loke, so Middleton, Collins, Green, Toppin. Yeah, I agree. And again, he got Obi to fall to him there, which at 125, I think Obi is a great value. It's like you see him here at 11.5, right? I've seen a lot of people taking him like at 9.5 up here. And that's a little bit too much for me. But it's not crazy. Here's a run of wings after I took Sadiq Bey, Kelly Oubre, Zach Collins, John Kuminga, Jarris Walker, Trey Murphy, then Dennis Schroeder to T-Loke there at 5. UNC coming around. We know UNC is going to want a big here. So he's still got Zubac on the board. He's got Bobby Portis, Mitchell Robinson. And then I guess if you wanted to, Christian Wood. Zubac off the board. So we'll see unless Dylan takes one. I imagine UNC is going to get a Bobby Portis share here. Maybe double up with Mitch Rob. Oh, we'll see what he does. How much do I think John Collins hurts Utah guys? Not at all. I actually think Collins we kind of saw last year him take a back seat fantasy-wise in Atlanta, and I think something similar is going to happen here. Colin Sexton is a high usage guard. Lauri Markkanen is the alpha in this offense. You've got a guy like Jordan Clarkson off the bench. I don't have much concern about John Collins being in Utah in terms of him affecting the other guys negatively from a fantasy standpoint. UNC goes Naz Reid and Bobby Portis. I like that. Then Christian Wood, Jalen Johnson, Gary Trent. 13th round here. Anybody else got any hot takes? When I was over on the Team Hold stream 2 weeks ago, I was asked what was my what were my hot takes, and I think what I said was I had 2, and Oklahoma City ends up in the top 4 in the West, and the Dallas Mavericks missed the playoffs again. I might have said missed the play-in. That's real hot. I think Dallas missing the playoffs is lukewarm. They just did. And I don't think they did a ton. Like Grant Williams to me doesn't put you over the top. Like that's not gonna, move mountains defensively. That's not a knock to Grant, of course. So coming around here on the 13-14 turn, Nas is going to smash playing more at the 4. Yeah. What do you think why do you think he's going to play more at the 4? Just because Cat and Gobert you expect to be available more this year? I think he can play both, obviously. Is that your hot take, Josh? Because I don't think it's that hot. He hasn't done much in his 3-year career so far, but I'm a sucker for that. His, the size athleticism combo that he's got. He's an exciting guy to watch for sure. I'm going to continue my Bilal Coulibaly crusade here at 155. Guys filling up the box score. And we'll probably grab another guard here. Could get a Sexton. I could get a THT. Dylan Brooks down here. Again, I'm not a fan of Dylan Brooks, the guy, but down here near 160. Brackenridge takes Kobe White from me. I was trying to be quiet because I know he's listening in here. We'll take a Sexton. It's been a while since I took a Colin Sexton share. He got it going last night, of course, with Clarkson and Laurie and Collins out, but I do think he starts the year as the one. We've got a UNC message here. Nas Reed played. Chris Finch expected to be 90%. I guess, but he's like, so he's gonna. That just means that when he plays with Cat, they're going to. Cat is the nominal 5, right? That's odd. That's odd to me to say that. Because they don't. Who's the backup 5 then? Cat. It ain't Luka Garza. That's the only other guy they have. 90% of his minutes at the 4 is, I believe, as the kids say, that sounds like Cap to me. Cam Thomas to Jeff. I apologize for using Cap. I'm too old for that. I don't have hot takes. I just shoot for upside and hope players perform. Yeah, sure. That's fair. I appreciate that, sir. Philippines MVP next season, Josh. Josh, I already knew your hot take. Your hot take was that Noah Clowney's going to do anything in the league this year. Your take was that he's the best center on the Nets. He's not even the second best center. That was my thinking. Yeah, my lessen Gobert's minutes. Yeah, and that's fair. But again, I think 90% of his minutes at the 4 is bullshit. Clowney rookie of the year. Yeah. He'd have better odds on getting the contribute absolutely nothing award as a rookie for all the first round picks. UNC going Cam Whitmore and THT, 2 high upside selections there. UNC, you got 1 pick left in draft season, my friend. Who's it going to be? Who is it going to be? It's bittersweet, man, when you come to the end of the draft season, because you can only the only way you're drafting 150 teams is if you enjoy doing it. So yeah, don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it happened. Cancel more of my drafts. Yeah. So did you get sent a notification about that or an email or something like that? So how did you know, or did you just notice that your number of drafts completed went down? Because then part 2 of that question, Do you know which draft it was? Like, can we see? I would like to see what the board looked like, because I imagine that's some sort of collusion. The draft was reported by somebody else in your group there. It was very interesting. Terrence says Julius Randle is the MVP fantasy forward. Okay, your hot take. I mean, I don't have a great argument against that. Ben Simmons best value. You and I are very close on that for sure. I mean, he's been filling up the stat sheet, and like I said earlier, I don't think he's ever back to the All NBA caliber player, especially like All NBA defensive type player. Just because I don't know if he gets back all the way mentally, but we'll see, man. Statistically, he's been good in the preseason, and he looks more confident than he did over the last 2+ seasons, right? So yeah, I have a lot of Ben Simmons where we can get him in drafts. I only have 2 bigs here. I've got Wemby and Jalen Duren. So we'll go ahead and take Paul Reed if anything happens to Joel Embiid, or on any Embiid rest days with some big games there from B-Ball Paul. Brackenridge on the turn here. Then I'll make my final pick of this draft. Julian Strother, like that pick by Brackenridge. Who else we got available down here? Like Santi. I don't have any of the Clippers guys, so KJ might be the pick. I think KJ is going to be the pick here. Brackenridge also got Jaden Hardy there. Here we go. No notification or email. Just noticed it went down from 149 to 148. I messaged. I said it was. No, they said it was collusion. Okay, interesting. Named all your drafts. That's smart. Interesting. Okay. Huh. Claxton is a. What makes you say that, Josh? Explain. Been drafting a lot of Strother the past week. Yeah, man. Been shooting the crap out of the ball, even going back to summer league. And again, that doesn't always translate to the real thing. But I do think he's got a shot to be in that Denver rotation this year. And if he keeps scoring like this, it's a fine 16th round pick. But fire that. You say you have another good last round pick for me. Is it Zaire? I see you just took Zaire. I think that's a really good shout. I think he's probably in the lead right now over a guy like Luke Kennard to start for the Grizzlies to begin the season. Blocks and boards. I mean, he's very good at blocks. That counts for a lot. His rim protection is up there in the league. I won't say elite tier. I mean, the guy led the league in field goal percentage last year, Josh, and 13-9 with 2 assists and over 3 stocked per game in 30 minutes a game. I like Nick Claxton. Only right. That's true. Only right. You get the 1 pick after that Jokic build was canceled. So we see Hendricks, Marvin Bagley, Zaire Williams, Corey Kispert, John Isaac, Santi Aldama, Dylan on the clock, and then UNC closing out his draft season. Let's see what he does. I don't know if this is going to give me the glitch or not. I don't know if this happens to you guys too, but when we get to that last pick, sometimes it glitches and it won't show. UNC, you might just have to tell me who you pick. Honorary. Was it Mr. Irrelevant here for UNC? It says completed, so who'd you take? Josh says, if him and Clowney were in jail, Clowney would. Yeah, but that has nothing to do, and I disagree. Clowney is rail thin. Claxton's got beef on that guy. And that has nothing to do with basketball or fantasy. So I discard your arguments there. Bones, I like that. Again, Bones with the huge game last night. If it weren't for me getting THT wrong last night, would have had a really good night. All right, everybody. That'll do it. 2 drafts up, 2 drafts down here on a Friday afternoon. Again, going live in about 2.5 hours with the esteemed Mike Randall breaking down tonight's 7-game preseason finale DFS slate. So very excited for that. I don't know. Maybe we'll fire up a rogue stream on Monday. I know UNC can't really participate anymore unless there's more collusion. But I don't know would you guys be able to join in on a Monday? I know that can be different than a Friday afternoon for sure. Appreciate you being here, Jeff. Appreciate you, Chris, of course, always tuning into these streams. I'm gonna go rest the voice for a couple hours here. All right, everybody. Once again, thanks for, not just stopping by the streams this preseason, but, reading the strategy articles, the ranks, interacting with those. It's been a fun draft season. We're not quite done here, but coming down the home stretch. So appreciate you tuning in once again. Hope to see you around the DFS streets here at FTN. Again, you can join up now. I think the price has gone up from last week's early bird because that ended last Friday. But I believe it's $229.99 right now for the NBA DFS Plus package here at FTN. So we'd love to see you around the FTN streets here. Great community we've got here at all the FTN sites. And so maybe we'll see you at the DFS stream later today. So Chris, if we fire up the rogue stream, Chris will be around hanging out. Good to see that. All right. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.